Hello all. So if you have a vehicle and you go to step on the brakes, you go to stop and you hear a grinding noise, I thought I'd go over what the most common causes of this are and how you go about narrowing down what the problem is. And so I'm going to go over each of these problems and show what they look like and what's going on with those components when they do go bad. But real quickly, the 5 most common causes of a vehicle grinding noise when you go to step on the brakes is going to be worn out or bad brake pads, a damaged or worn out brake rotor. There might be debris caught up inside the brake system. There might be a bad brake caliper. And it's also possible that there's a bad wheel bearing, although that isn't too common, but it does happen sometimes. And so when you go to step on the brakes and you hear a grinding noise, that's going to point to some kind of problem going on with the brakes themselves. And so to explain some of the components that I'm going to be talking about, I made up this diagram inside of a disc brake system, which most vehicles have these days. And so basically you have what's called a brake caliper, which basically just squeezes on the brake pads, which are going to be located inside of it. So when you step on the brakes, there's a piston inside this caliper that's going to push out and push on those brake pads that are going to be located inside of it. The brake caliper is going to be riding on what's called a brake caliper bracket, and it basically could just move a little bit on that caliper bracket, which is going to be located on either side of it. It's going to be located here and down here on the bottom. And when that brake caliper piston pushes on the brake pads, it's going to squeeze on what's called the disc rotor, which is going to be spinning with the axle, and this is going to allow the vehicle to stop. And so that's just a real basic overview of what's going on with the brake system. But basically, when you hear a vehicle grinding noise, when you go to step on the brakes, there's some kind of problem going on with one of these components. And the most common brake component to go bad is going to be the brake pads. Basically, the brake pads are what make contact with this rotor to stop the vehicle. And over time, these brake pads can wear down and they do need to be replaced. When the brake pads are new, they'll have a lot of material on them. But over time, that material is going to get grounded away and eventually they need to get replaced. Sometimes the brake pads can get worn out down to the metal, which will definitely make a loud grounding noise. If it's metal to metal, then for sure you're going to hear it. Sometimes these brake pads can also get cracked and things like this, and that also can make a loud grounding noise. The brake pads can also have what's called a brake squealer, which is just a piece of metal that helps to warn you when the brake pads are starting to go bad. Whenever you go to step on the brakes, they'll start squeaking, and if they don't get replaced, sometimes this could start really grinding in there, and different things like this. When the brake pads go bad, you can also get like a vibration when you go to step on the brakes. And so the first thing that could cause this is worn out brake pads. The next thing that could cause this is that this rotor's gone bad. And basically this rotor should be very smooth and it shouldn't be warped or anything like that. And if for some reason it's not smooth anymore, for example, if a vehicle has bad brake pads and they're down to like the metal, that can grind into the rotor, which is going to put grooves inside of it. And even when the vehicle gets new brake pads, it's still going to cause problems. You'll still have a vibration when you go to step on the brakes, and you'll still hear a grinding noise. And if they are damaged, if they do have grind marks in them, or if they're warped or anything like this, then they'll need to be replaced. But the next thing that could cause this is a damaged or worn out brake rotor. The next thing that could cause this is that if there's some kind of debris got caught up inside the brakes somewhere, and every time you go to step on the brakes, it's causing problems, it's making a grinding noise. Quite often when that happens, you'll get grooves inside the rotor. For example, if a rock gets stuck up in there, right around the brake pad, and every time the brakes get pushed on, it's going to squeeze that caliper on the rotor, and that rock could grind a groove into the rotor, which is going to cause problems. It's going to cause a grinding noise, and it's also going to damage that rotor. So the next thing on the list is going to be that some kind of debris got caught up inside the brake system. And the next thing on the list that could cause this is that there's some kind of problem going on with the caliper. It could be squeezing on the brake pads unevenly and causing a grinding sound. Sometimes these brake calipers can become stuck, especially if they get all rusted up or anything like this. They can start sticking. So sometimes if the brakes are pushed on very hard, when you go to let up, that piston might be still stuck. It's still pushing on the brake pad, even for a short while, which is going to cause a grinding noise. But the next thing that could cause this is some kind of issue going on with that caliper. And the last thing on the list is going to be a bad wheel bearing. And this isn't going to be too common because usually when you have a bad wheel bearing, it's going to be all the time. And when you're driving down the road, usually when there's a bad wheel bearing, there'll be like a humming noise that changes, but it changes with the vehicle speed. There'll be like a humming noise or a grinding noise, but it's going to change with the vehicle speed. But sometimes when they're just starting to go bad, when you go to step on the brakes, it can cause grinding noise to come from these wheel bearings. Like I said, usually the noise is all the time when you're moving, but sometimes it can happen when you just go to step on the brakes. And so while not too common, it does happen sometimes. So the last thing on the list is going to be a bad wheel bearing. And so that's basically it. I just wanted to give a basic overview of the most common causes of a vehicle that makes a grinding noise when you go to step on the brakes. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.